Okay, so we're going to be solving using the quadratic formula. There are a couple key things you need to know before solving using the quadratic formula. The first is obviously your quadratic formula. So I have it written over here. It is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. You also need to know what each thing represents in your equation. So in our equation, 3 represents a, 1 represents b, and 2 represents c. Now that we know this, we can begin filling out our equation. So here we go. On the outside, we'll have negative 1 because b is 1, and we have to add a negative according to the formula. And on the inside, we're going to have b squared because b again is 1. We have to square that. Minus 4 times 3 because 3 is a, and times 2 because 2 is c. And then we can draw our fraction bar. And underneath our fraction bar, we'll put 2 times 3 because the 3 is a. Now we can start simplifying our equation. So the first thing we're going to want to do is what is under our square root. So this 1 squared is 1 because 1 times 1 is 1. And then we're going to do negative 4 times 3 is negative 12 times 2 is negative 24. So minus 24. And that will go under our square root. And then our negative 1 outside the parentheses is going to stay the same. And underneath our fraction bar, 2 times 3 is 6. So we'll put 6 underneath our fraction bar. So now we can even further simplify this equation. So we can subtract 24 from 1, and we can divide the entire equation by 6. So let's start by doing that. So negative 1 divided by, so we're going to do negative 1 divided by 6, which is negative 1/6. And then underneath our fraction bar, 1 minus 24 equals negative 23 divided by, and then we have to divide that by 6. So it will be negative 23 divided by 6. So now we have the equation negative 1/6 plus or minus negative 23 divided by 6. And because this number is a negative, we know it's an imaginary number because there cannot be a negative under a square root. Because two of the same number cannot be multiplied together to get a negative. So normally, if this was a perfect square root, we could square root it and then put I for imaginary number. But since this is not a perfect square, we cannot simplify this equation any further. So we know that the x equals negative 1/6 plus or minus the square root of negative 23 divided by 6.